What's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Stigler. I'm a pro footballer performance coach, and today I'm gonna take you through a total body routine. We're gonna do some plyometrics. We're going to do some strength work. We're gonna do some exercises that I can almost guarantee that you've never seen before. And yeah, we're gonna yap, we're gonna bullshit our way all along through this thing, and I'm excited to get started. It's a Champions League Tuesday today as well, and I'm recording this at, let's see, 10:05 Central Time, so matches don't start for another 4 hours, but you can hold me to these predictions. I'm going Real Madrid 3-1 over City, and then I'm gonna go Arsenal over Bayern 1-0. We can see, hopefully I can prove my ball knowledge to you guys so you guys don't completely abandon this channel after I get every single pick wrong. I honestly just think after seeing Haaland get absolutely bodied by Arsenal center backs that I think Madrid can do the same thing, and I think Madrid just has such an elite midfield, and they're just gonna, I think it's a bad matchup for City. And then in terms of Arsenal, I mean, Champions League Arsenal is just a different beast with how many goals they've scored this season, and I don't keep up too much with Bundesliga in general, but obviously Leverkusen are having an amazing season, and I don't know, I think Bayern in general has underperformed, but I mean, underperforming for them is just not winning the league, so who knows? I just think Arsenal are going to be the better team. We can always count on Harry Kane not winning a trophy, so that's what I'm going off of. All right, so this first one that we're going to do is going to be quadruped spinal segmentations. So I'm really bad at this one, but the goal of it is going to be to make sure that I flex and extend my spine segmentally. So for example, we'll just start in cat. I believe this part is cat and not cow. No, this is cow for sure. So you're here. We're gonna start here, and then I'm just gonna raise the chin up. Then I'm gonna try and extend just my upper back. Then mid back. Then low back and pelvis. And then eventually just all the way in cat. And from here I'm gonna reverse it. Tuck the pelvis. Tuck the lower abs, mid spine, upper spine, tuck the chin. Whew. First time I did this exercise was literally like 4 days ago, so go easy on me in the comments, guys. I'm doing my best. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make in their training is so often they only do the things that they are good at, and then it's like, okay, like I used to do this. I'm really good at just bilateral strength exercises, like most I ever deadlifted on a straight bar was 500 pounds flat. On a trap bar was 575. I've bench pressed 295 before. That 315 still eluded me. And then, you know, my squat's absolute shit, but whatever. We don't gotta talk about that. But because of that, like I'd come into the gym and I'd always do my heavy bilateral strength stuff because it was what I was good at, it's what I enjoyed. But then I never got better at the things that I'm not good at. Like spinal segmentation, like relative movement versus absolute movement, general mobility, all these different things. So I think it's really important. Hopefully I can lead by example and do some things that I'm shitty at in front of you guys as well. So right here, we're gonna do a heel elevated spinal squat flow. From here, I'm just gonna breathe a little bit. And then from this deep squat position, or start to do some spinal movements. So right now I'm getting a yielding iso in the ankles, the knees, and the hips, as well as a bit in the spine. Get some rotation as well. Knees a little bit in the way, that's all right. Do some flexion. A little bit of extension. I used to be way better at that. Oh, I fucked this up so bad. I don't know if you guys can even see this, but I forgot that my client put the box at the top right there. So what this does is it teaches us to kind of evenly distribute that stress across the entire spine versus one part of it just taking the entire brunt of it. So I'm sure you can even see when I go into extension, there is one specific part of my spine towards the mid to lower back that's really good at it, and the rest of it is actually pretty flexed. So that's what we're here to work on. It is so funny. This is for sure some of the worst shape that I've ever been in terms of conditioning, in terms of strength, in terms of so many different things. And, you know, I never want to make excuses about why that is or anything, but I remember seeing a post years ago from another coach who he was building his business, and he was saying, he's like, you know, I think there comes a point in every performance coach, trainer's life, if you are ambitious about what you're trying to do, where the fitness side just does kind of take a back seat to things. And, you know, the business has done incredible this past year, like better than I expected it to ever be. But at the same time, my fitness has just become absolutely awful because of that. And I really want to make that a point this next year to just round off 2024 and actually start to get back into this, because, you know, I'm 27 years old. Like this should theoretically be like my peak these next 5 years in terms of physical fitness. And at the rate we're going, that's just not the case. And, you know, for any of you guys that are watching that are like past athletes, you know, if maybe you played football, played soccer in high school or college and now you don't anymore, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember how good it felt to be in really, really good shape. And as you go into adult life, no one really teaches you how to maintain that and how to keep that going as you enter adulthood, as you have a job, as you have more responsibilities, and it just gets harder. So, you know, the more you can get ahead of that, the better. All right, let's get into the actual exercises. Let's see if I can get this thing down from here so we can do some plyometrics. Now, I don't want to hear any short king comments as I climb up on this bench to get this box down. So here's the thing, famous words of Drake. You know, I'm like 6'2" in the right shoe. Here we go. This bench is so not stable. Be vulnerable with you guys for a little bit. I have a fear of heights. Not that this is actual heights, but I think it's more a fear of falling than anything. It'd be easier to get that box, but that's such a low box. I think we're just gonna have to do that. I'm bitching out, so I won't do anything for social media clout, but I'll do a lot of stuff. You guys just aren't gonna see any super impressive box jumps today. And you know what? I'll just do them weighted. See? This is problem solving for all you guys that don't have the right equipment. So, like I was saying, I'm gonna do these box jumps, but because this box is not high at all for what I'm used to doing, I'm going to do them weighted to make it a little bit more difficult. Also going to do it from a high seated position. We're getting real ratchet with the setup here. So I won't hear any complaints about you guys not having the proper equipment to do these box jumps. So I want to do it from a high seated position. And the main reason I want to do this is, number one, because when people do box jumps, so often when they do them, they drop down as low as they possibly can. They hang out there for a second. They really like try and get their strength, and then they just throw themselves up. But how often on the pitch do you have more than a split second to actually get into a jump, right? So by setting myself up in a high seated box position, it actually makes it a bit more specific to what you'd see on the pitch. Like that. It's gonna be one rep. Do the first set unweighted, just to make sure that this isn't gonna collapse on me. I'm gonna try and land in a relatively high position. Set one, ball. Make it a little bit harder. In a perfect world, I probably wouldn't do this variation weighted based on what my goals are right now, which is working on quick ground contacts, because the weight is going to slow down. It's going to slow down the amount of time that I spend on the ground, or I guess it's going to extend the amount of time that I spend on the ground, which is going to slow down my ground contact. But again, today, with what we're working with, I don't have a box that's necessarily high enough, so I'm perfectly fine with doing this. So we'll hold this ball in a Zercher position. We're going to make sure we see that box so we don't trip on it, especially on camera, because that's super embarrassing, and none of you will ever subscribe if I do that. Or maybe you will. Maybe I'll get more subscribers. Anyway, here we go. Now we're gonna pair this with fake med ball chest passes. I'm gonna do this from a high seated position as well, just because it's already set up like this. The difference is in a high seated position, you're not gonna be able to produce as much force as you would if you were in a mid-range of motion seated position. But the same thing goes for the deep seated position. So the way that you tell if you're in a high, medium, or deep seated position is this is high because my hip is above my knee. If I were to drop down and my knee was in line, or at least close to in line with my hip, that would be a mid range of motion. And if I was really sitting low and my knee was above my hip, that would be a deep range of motion position. There's a bunch of different benefits to each of those. I've been yapping too much, so we'll get into that another day. I'm gonna do a fake pass here. Two reasons I'm doing a fake pass instead of a regular pass. Reason number one, I don't have a wall to throw at. I would break each of these walls if I actually threw a ball at it. Number two is because when you are doing a fake pass, you need to actually decelerate that weight. Otherwise, that ball is gonna just keep going and it's gonna turn into a throw. When you are decelerating that ball, what you're doing is it's acting as if you're increasing the ground contact in like a plyo or a sprint. And what we know about that is that increases the amount of yielding and force absorption during a plyometric. In this case, it's an upper body plyometric, not technically plyometric, but whatever. So, really long-winded way of saying this is better for stiffer footballers, people that need to work on force absorption. My biggest fear with one of these is that I'm gonna be doing it and it's just not gonna be recording. And then this whole workout's gonna be for nothing because it got no content from it. You know what, I think I'm gonna go on weight on this one and just see if I can get a little bit higher. Yeah, we're gonna see if we can land with almost perfectly straight legs on this. Yep, there we go. That's more what we're looking for here. So much of plyometrics too, I've noticed, is timing. It's producing the extension of the ankle, the knee, the hip, and throwing the arms up at the same time. If you get that wrong, you can really feel it. And when you get it right, you just know. You're like, I'm making this box jump. Okay, so for this exercise, we're gonna do a Copenhagen side plank floor press, which I've never done before. What we'll do for this one is we're gonna set up in a regular Copenhagen side plank. So you're gonna set up with 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot on a box or bench or whatever you have to stabilize yourself. Then we're gonna get into a regular Copenhagen side plank position. It's not good news that my obliques are already sore. Then we're just gonna take a dumbbell, bring it behind, press, bring it behind, press like that. I'm gonna try my best to not rotate at the hips too much and try and get all that rotation from the upper body. That's gonna be a challenge, I can already tell. So here we go, getting strong in weird positions, just like I always say. Hips stay high. Oh. Holy shit. That's way harder than I thought it was going to be. The best bench I've ever done was 290 pounds. I'll be super transparent with you right now. This is a 25-pound dumbbell. The fact that I'm able to humble myself in this position with 25 pounds is crazy. See if the right side is easier. I don't think it will be. Oh, nope, not much easier. So what this one's gonna be, this is gonna be a tall quarter kneeling row with a opposite arm reach. So this is half kneeling, this is tall kneeling, and tall quarter kneeling is just sitting back in it like this. So we're gonna get a big yield in the quads right here. This is not gonna be a strong position to pull from, so we're not gonna use a ton of weight. I'm gonna try and keep my chest high, let that cable pull me far forward, because as I let the cable pull me far forward and I keep my chest high, I'm gonna rotate, I'm gonna get a ton of oblique action here, and then I'm gonna drive this elbow back to drive even more rotation. Keep the head facing forward as I pull and reach. And you should feel a ton of obliques, especially after that Copenhagen variation. So this one's a great exercise because you are training the body to rotate, just like you would on the pitch when you're sprinting, running, when you're shooting, doing all these other athletic movements. And then in addition to that, we're getting a big stretch in the quads, and we're actually getting a huge stretch in the ankles and the tibia. Honestly, right now I'm feeling this a ton just from doing this type of exercise. Someone commented the other day that I was turning into their emotional therapist as well as their trainer. And I will say I like talking about these things because I think when I was younger, the two things that really held me back in terms of my football and my performance was my conditioning, my fitness, my athleticism. My training just was not, it was not on point. It was not what it should have been. And two, the mental side of things. And I think just if you can dial those two things in, I think it will take you to a different level on the pitch. And I think it will be a superpower and a strong point for a lot of you that a lot of players at any age, I wanted to say young footballers, but honestly there's plenty of grown-ass men and grown-ass women out there that just have these problems that they've never really confronted. And because of that, I just think that there's a real low-hanging fruit to improve those things for you on the pitch. I think, 2024 in general has been a bit brutal, and I think there's a lot of things that have been going on in my mind that have changed for me. And one of the things that I think I'm decently good at mentally is framing things in a useful and positive way. Like, I don't always worry so much about whether things are right or wrong as much as like what was the best way I can frame this to move forward so that it impacts me in a positive way. And this year there's just been a few challenges with that in terms of like, there's just been certain things where it's like, God, it's really hard to frame loss in a positive way. And you could frame that as loss of a match, loss of like a pet, a loved one, a friend, whatever it could be. And I just really struggled with that for a long time. And I don't have it down perfectly, but I will say I saw some quote a while ago that was like, I'm gonna completely butcher this, was along the lines of, it's such a privilege and a blessing to have loved or cared about something so much that it means so much to you when you do lose it. And I will say that I think that for me was a huge mindset shift. Whether you lost a match that just absolutely crushed you, or there was the Champions League final or like a high school playoff game, like if it really hurts, if it really crushes you, what a privilege it is to care so much about the sport that losing that match means so much to you. Like, not a lot of people have something that they care that much about. And because of that, they may not live as fulfilled of a life. It's the same thing with loss of a friend, loss of a loved one, loss of a pet, whatever it is for you. Like, I don't know, just being able to frame that in that way was super helpful for me personally. Hopefully it resonates with someone out there.
Train on your own before you do their workout.
100%. I think it warms me up too, gives me a little energy before.
You're like super athletic, seriously.
Well, thank you, I try.
You're like a tall, thin guy, but you
Right.
have incredible like strength.
I was telling Irf on this the other day that I go to public gyms and I'll load up the bar for deadlifts, and I can see people looking at me because they're like, he's not going to move that. And then they're like, yeah.
You look like a regular guy.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate it. Have a good one. It is so funny. I get that comment all the time. I remember back in high school, freshman year, when nobody would work out, we'd go to the weight room and they'd be like, my gym teacher would be like, all right, we're gonna bench today. And I never really did barbell bench like that, but I done push-ups like my entire life. So I was able to do 135 pounds, which is just a plate on each side. But for a freshman in high school who looks like me, he was so hyped for me. He literally yelled out, he's like, he's deceptively strong, which is like the most backhanded compliment of all time. Just saying like, he doesn't look strong, but he is. It's like, all right, dude, whatever. All right, knees over toes, guy. Prepare to eat your heart out. So this exercise really is meant to strengthen the patella, load the knee and the quad through a full range of motion. All you need for this is a wall. I'll do the exercise and then I'll kind of explain to you how you can make it harder, how you can make it easier based on your preferred level of difficulty, your fitness level, all these things. So to start, ideally you don't have anything on the wall right here in your way. I do. So I'm gonna try and get my hands in a good position here, but this is really the only spot on the wall that I could do this. It's a little bit of a forward lean into the wall. From here, I'm gonna reach my arms long and spread my shoulder blades apart as I keep my chest relatively high. Then all I'm gonna do is drop my knees down, lifting the toes, or lifting the heels off the ground. And for those of you that are gonna say, oh, my knee exploded just watching this, I have had a knee surgery. I had 40% of my lateral meniscus removed. And that was now, oh my God, I'm so old. That was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And look at me. I'm able to do this. And I didn't injure my knee by doing this exercise. I injured my knee on the football pitch 6 years ago. I wasn't doing any of the shit I'm doing now in terms of athletic performance or anything like that. In fact, I was doing everything I tell myself not to do currently. Like, I'm almost positive I did a max back squat a few hours before an indoor match. And like indoor, like on this type of surface, like not even on like turf. And I woke up the next day and just couldn't put my sock on. So to make this easier or harder, we have two options. Number one, easiest way if you have zero equipment, is if my hands were here. To make it harder, raise my hands up even higher. The other way to do this, to make it easier, is lower the hands a bit. Obviously, you can't go too low, so what I prefer to make it easier, box, elevate the surface, let it come to you, and then do the same thing right here, except I bring this a little closer. Over here, drop it down, tap like that, nice and simple. Wow, I need a haircut. I can't see you guys. Now, too easy? I have the solution. Stand on the box. This might be really brutal. I'm gonna go as low as I can. We're gonna see how this goes. Haven't done this in a minute. Oh yeah, still got it. If you want to make it harder, all you need is a box. If you don't have a box, we still have some things that we gotta work with there. All right, everybody, that's 99% of the routine that I have for you guys today. I'm gonna finish up with some arms, some calves, some more boring stuff. But yeah, let me know if you guys liked the video. Again, if you want to see more of these, let me know. If you want anything added to them, if you want them to be longer, you want them to be shorter, you want less yapping about this, more yapping about that, let me know what you guys want to see. You know, I'm mostly doing this for you guys, but at the same time, I honestly do enjoy doing these. So I'm gonna keep these coming, probably no matter what, unless if like only 2 of you guys watch this video. But if we get more than 2 views, I'll do another one, I promise. Yeah, I'm gonna watch some Champions League later today, gonna train some clients and get on out of here. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.